Hi, I'm Tommy Master from data36.com, and in this video, I want to quickly show you how websites collect data. It's important to know this for two reasons. First, if you are a website visitor, it's good to know what sort of data can be collected from you. And secondly, if you are a website owner, it's good to know what sort of data you can collect from your visitors. Now, I have to add that in this video, I won't go into the legal and ethical aspects of these questions. I leave this to you and your legal professional. I will only show you what's possible with today's technology and what things are done already by most websites. Okay, so when it comes to a website, the data collection can happen in two major places: on the front end and on the back end. The front end is basically the website that the visitor sees in her browser. There, different scripts that are mostly written in JavaScript, by the way, so there different scripts can pick up and send the data points to a data server. And the backend is the server that serves your website. It's practically invisible to your visitors, but it's there and it collects the data as well. Most website owners don't even know about this and don't use this data, but it exists, so it's worth to talk a little bit about this one as well. Let me show you the front-end data collection first. To make this easy to understand, I've created a demo website that you can use to try out the different data collection methods I will show you. The link is sendatree.eu. This is a demo website. It's not a real company, of course, but everything that we will do on this website can be done on 99.99% of other websites on the internet. So I encourage you to do this with me. First, open a Google Chrome browser and a new incognito window, and then go to sendatree.eu. Right-click on the web page and choose Inspect. And you will see the whole code base of the website on the right side of your browser. Here, choose Console on the top menu. And here, instead of sendatree.eu's HTML code, you will see a console where you can run JavaScript code. And this is really important. Every single JavaScript code that we run here can be run automatically by the website itself. In other words, every data point that you will mine about your own website visit session in this tutorial could be collected by the website and can be collected by all other websites automatically about all its visitors as well and sent to a data server to be analyzed. I will show you how, and I will focus, of course, on the popular data collection techniques that most websites use nowadays. So let's use a little bit of JavaScript. The first and most obvious thing that you can get from the console is the information about the web page itself. Type this into the console document.location. Hit enter, and this will return something called a JavaScript location object with important data points about the web page. And of course, you can go even deeper by clicking this little arrow here, and you will see the host name, the protocol, and many similar things. You can just query and select the exact data point you are interested in by typing, for example, document.location.href, which will return only one thing, the entire URL of the web page. Let's try out another one, document.referrer. And this is another often used parameter that can be collected. It shows the website the user clicked through from. It will be empty for us, for now at least, because we directly typed in the sendatree.eu URL to our browser. But if you go to Google, google.com, okay, and Google sendatree.eu, click through from here, Inspect, Console, and then type document.referrer in the console, you will see that now it returns google.com. Let's try another one, screen. So information about visitor screen settings can be collected too. And it's not just the resolution of the screen, but for instance, with the screen orientation dot type JavaScript snippet, one can get the default orientation of the user screen, which can be an indication of whether the user is on mobile or desktop. For me, it's landscape primary. And since we are talking about mobile versus desktop, it's interesting to take a look at the navigator.user agent property 2. This will return something like this. As you can see, it's mostly about the browser the visitor uses, but you can also find the operating system of her computer, or in this case mine, which can be an even more direct indication of whether she's on mobile or desktop. And of course, you will find many more things in Navigator if you go deeper, but let me just highlight another frequently collected piece of information, which is navigator.language is. Now, this shows the preferred languages on the computer of the visitor, prioritized. For me, it's only one language, but on my other computer, for instance, I have 4 different languages for this one. So this is the console. You can go even deeper if you want to, but I want to talk about something else now. And when it comes to front-end data collection, one of the most discussed aspects of data collection is something called cookies. As you can see, most websites can collect a bunch of information without cookies too, but I have to admit that cookies complicate things even more because they stay in the visitor's browser even after they close the website. That means that if you visit a website today and then 1 week later visit it again from the same computer and from the same browser, with the help of cookies, the website will know that you are the same visitor. Let's see how this works. On the same top menu where you selected console, now go to application, then select the cookies menu on the left bar. Within that, select sendatree.eu. You can do this for any website and you will see a list of all the cookies that the website uses to track its users. For this example web page, you will see only one cookie, the random cookie ID, and I set it only to demonstrate how it works. And this random cookie ID cookie does exactly what I said that cookies do. It saves a cookie with a random variable into your browser that will be used to flag that you are the same visitor when you come back and visit this website next week. It has a size, an expiration date, and very importantly, it cannot be used across different domains. So if you visit another website like data36.com, the cookie that's created by sendatree.com naturally won't be seen by data36.com. I won't go into detail about how this cookie is set. It's a few lines of JavaScript code, but I will show you how you, and of course a website, can query and use a cookie with JavaScript. Just go back to console and type document.cookie. This time it's only one cookie, but when you visit a real website, you will find many more that all store different pieces of information. Just go to your favorite e-commerce site and I bet that you will see at least a few of these commonly used cookies: Google Analytics cookies, Facebook cookies, Twitter cookies, and probably many more. You might know that these cookies are set by tracking scripts that the owner of the website placed there, mainly for business purposes, like measuring the website traffic with Google Analytics, running remarketing campaigns with Facebook or Twitter, and so on. When these marketing-related JavaScript snippets run, they send all the data that I showed you and more to these big companies as well. Generally speaking, this is not dangerous, but while the data that the website owners can collect from you is mostly anonymous, it isn't always when it goes to Facebook, for instance, because it can be tied directly to your Facebook profile. I mean, only if you are logged in on Facebook while browsing. Anyways, that's the method these big companies use to collect so much data from you. even on a non-Facebook, non-Google, non-Twitter website. Is it good or bad? I don't know, but it's good to know how it works for sure. Okay, we know what sort of data can be collected in the browser. The next question is how the data goes to a data server. As I said, any JavaScript code implemented to a website can query the same data and website usage information about all users that you have queried in console about yourself just now. How? Well, there are multiple ways to get this done, but here's a simple example. You don't have to understand what's going on here, but I will try to explain briefly. So these few lines will store a few important data points into a JavaScript array. So we collected a unique cookie ID to flag the visitor, the referrer, so where the visitor came from, the web page she visited, and a few more things about the resolution of the monitor. Of course, this list can be much longer if you had everything that I showed you before, but it's all pushed into an array called final_array_2_send, and it only needs one final touch, an XMLHttpRequest. This request sends the data in this array to a data server where it can be stored and analyzed. By the way, this server is usually not the same server that serves the website. It's usually a separate data server, but the data will look something like this. Now, this is only one line of code on a server, but this process can be done for every visited web page, for every click, for every typed character, for every scroll event, even for every mouse movement. Only the sky's the limit. And as I said, this can be scaled to all website visitors. So adding up all these, I hope you get how a single website can produce millions of data points, and also what sort of data and how can be collected of you on the front end. Just a quick side note, in practice, to make this actually happen, you will have to write a script on the front end for querying and collecting the data and initiating this XML/HTTP request, and another script on the data server's backend that receives this data and also stores it into a file or an SQL database or something. I won't go into that now, but might get back to that in another tutorial. Instead of that, let me talk a little bit about backend data collection. So, collecting data on the front end is pretty standard. As I said, every major online service does that on many websites, Google Analytics, Facebook, Twitter, Hotjar, and so on. And quite a few website owners collect their own data as well. But that's not all. When someone visits a website, the server that serves this website also stores data about this event. The funny thing is that most website owners don't even know that they have this detailed data log. It's 100% automatic, and it's how the internet works. Just like when you go into a grocery shop and ask a worker whether they have this or that product, she will see you, and then when she sees you again, she will know that you were looking for this or that product before. When you visit a website and ask the server to render it in your browser, the server sees your IP address, and it will also know which web page you want it to see. There is no way around it. I mean, it can be masked or hidden from humans, but this data by default is generated and stored on almost every web server that serves websites on the internet today. If the website runs using WordPress, for instance, like sendthetree.eu does, then this will be stored in an apache2 log. If you have a website and you know how to use the command line, you can log in and discover this log too. For instance, here's the data that's generated about me for a single web page visit on sendthetree.eu. This data is collected regardless of what sort of scripts the website runs or doesn't run on the front end. It's just a plain log of what requests were made by visitors to the server. So to make this clear, this data collection works even if a user blocks JavaScript on the front end. As you can see, this does not contain a unique ID, but it does contain an IP address, for instance. It's masked for me, sorry. Also, with a few tweaks, this can be combined with the front-end data that I showed you before. So, back-end and front-end data can throw a very complex picture of a website visitor. Before I wrap this video up, let me talk a little bit about limitations. As I said, I don't want to talk about the legal aspects here. I leave that to you and your legal professionals. I just wanted to show you that technology and the availability of the data is not a limitation. You don't have to be a huge internet company like Facebook, Amazon, Google, or Netflix to be able to collect millions or even billions of data points of your website visitors. But I encourage you to think about doing this ethically. As a rule of thumb, I recommend not collecting and using data about your users or visitors that you wouldn't want to be collected about you. A simple example, if a website visitor blocks JavaScript because she doesn't want to be monitored on the front end, probably it's not very ethical to use her backend data in your data science projects, which, as I showed you, will be collected regardless. Anyways, this is it. I hope that this video helped you to see and understand better how data collection works on websites. Whether you are a website visitor or an owner, it's good to know how these things work. I know I didn't go too much into the tech details, but if you want to hear more about it in a next episode, just let me know in the comments. With that being said, this is the end of this video. If you liked it, please subscribe, leave a rating or a comment. And remember, the best way to get notified about new videos is always the Data36 newsletter list, the only place where I really communicate to my audience right now. You can subscribe to it at data36.com/newsletter. And hey, if you do so, you will get access to a lot of free learning materials too, including my free mini course called How to Become a Data Scientist. Thank you for watching. I'm Tomi Mester from data36.com. Until next time.